Hi all, I wanted to quickly walk you through about something new released in Bruin, which is the support for glossaries and entity definitions. So quite often we see that different teams struggle with defining a common language for all of their data pipelines, as well as different assets they produce. So a lot of the different parts of the company call a customer a different thing, as well as it's not clear what's ID, what's the name, where does that ID come from, etc. And in a more practical perspective, across all of the data pipelines and in the data catalog, a lot of the times definitions, descriptions, and metadata are being replicated. In order to bring the business language closer to data pipelines and make that shift a lot smoother, we have recently introduced what we call a glossary. Effectively, in the first phase, glossary consists of entities. An entity is basically doesn't have to have anything to do with a table or necessarily with data even. It's basically a business entity, a business or product definition for the core entities of the business specifically. So looking at this example, there's one entity called customer. It has a description and a set of attributes. Inside those attributes, you have individual key value pairs here that are, for instance, for the ID, you have a description and often a data type that corresponds to that. Same for name, that has a description and consists of type string. Looking at another entity, you have an order that has a longer description that adds a few more details and maybe even references to other parts of the business where stuff related to this entity can be found, and also attributes that can be other types of data as well. For instance, order date has a description again, and the type is being recorded as date here. How does this help people? So first of all, this is a file that is version controlled, that stays in the root of a repo that coordinates all of these entities across the same project. And in more practical perspective, let's take a look at an example asset. So in this asset, we are ingesting data from an external service system called Gorgeous. We're getting customer data and loading that data into BigQuery. And here we define columns for this data. Under normal circumstances, you would have to put a description here, and you would have to put a type here, and you can then define your data quality checks for each and every aspect of this. But this means that, for instance, customer ID is going to be used a lot across all of your data assets probably, and repeating all of this metadata becomes pretty cumbersome all across the board and makes it harder to track business concepts here. Therefore, what you can do now is you can simply say, yeah, this column here extends customer.id, and you can optionally add your data quality checks here, and effectively this corresponds to this exact same thing that was there before without having to repeat all of these. Now, I presume you would have this and something like this as well, customer.name, and that would be pretty much it. By default, it would get the name from the entity name as well, but you could always override certain parts of this. If you wanted to change the type to some other thing, you could change here, and extend will effectively get the rest as defaults there, whereas the ones that are defined here are marked as the priority. Thinking about the effect of this means that first of all, you have a single place where you talk about the business language and the entities, and you have a single definition that you can refer across all of your data pipelines. The second part, which is going to be released in the next couple of weeks, is in Bruin Cloud, we're releasing an entity lineage across your data pipelines, where you can see, okay, across all of my data assets, where do I use customer email as a concept? Or where do I refer to an order across all of my data assets? What are the tables that are related to an order? And a future iteration of this is coming to be further metadata here. For instance, you have an email column. an email column can be marked as PII, which means after this definition is merged, any other column that relies on the customer email that refers to that in any way is going to be marked as PII automatically across your whole data pipeline without you having to go and touch to any of these different bits. This allows a very deep visibility in terms of the usage of the PII data, and more importantly, connecting concepts into your data pipelines. That's pretty much it. If you make any mistake here, if you refer to an entity that doesn't exist, Bruin still I will automatically warn you, and it will automatically do validations for these at any moment if you start adding these extensions. And that's it. Hope you like these.